Everybody, this is Mr. Padilla's Dojo. We welcome you. Right here I got a few of my students, and today we're going to be reviewing the book Wingfeather Saga Book 2, which is North or Be Eaten. So, what'd you guys think of the book?
It was amazing.
Good.
You guys all said the same thing.
No, he said
well, you said amazing, you said good. So tell me a little bit about what made it so amazing.
I don't know, the
thrilling.
action, the thrill. Actually, it felt like it was
real.
It was like
It felt like it was real.
It felt like it was a whole different level because the first one was like they were spending the entire time once in place, and it was like always grass, always like misery. Well, the second one they got to go like to adventures, like they went out.
So the first one was like at home.
Yeah, and then the second one was
well, like they started
adventure.
A lot of adventures.
Yeah.
Running finding
away.
new places.
So at the end of book 1, they were running away,
It
right?
also answers many of the questions from book 1.
It does.
Book 2
Answers many of the questions from book 1. Okay, so we read book 1. Now we read book 2. We're starting to read book 3. We actually started reading book 3 a couple days ago. But we're gonna talk about book 2. So now we're gonna get into spoilers. So, end of book 1, they're running away. Why are they running away?
Because of things in book 1, if you remember, they got chased out because the things were like gonna burn the entire village and all of that, so they ran away.
Well, let's just start from the beginning. So they're running away from the Fangs. The Fangs are coming after them, right? Why? The Fangs think they have the jewels of Anira. What is Anira?
An ancient.
It's a kingdom. It's a kingdom. Okay, now, then they find out that the kids are the jewels of Anira.
In the very end of the book 1.
Okay, very end of the book. Now, so now the kids know like we're the jewels. Let me read this. First, they find themselves on the end of the dark sea of darkness. Now they must make their way north or be eaten. Janner, Teak, and Lily Iggleby thought they were normal children with normal lives and normal pasts, but now they know they're really the lost jewels of Anira. Heirs to the legendary kingdom across the sea, and suddenly everyone wants to kill them. In order to survive, the Igglebys must flee to safety to the ice prairies, where the lizard-like fangs of Dane cannot follow. So, they're going to the ice prairies, but why are they going to the ice prairies?
Because they're running away from the fangs that way they don't get killed.
So what happens at the ice prairies to the fangs?
Because the fangs, they can't stand the cold.
Because fangs
are cold-blooded.
So they slow down in the cold. Okay.
So there's ice.
Okay, so wait, we're not there yet. But right now, they're going to the ice prairies thinking, you know what, we're going to escape the fangs because
they go and then they go frozen.
And they can't stand the ice, right? So, while they're going, they're on foot. What do they run into? Stranders. What are stranders?
They're like
evil people. They're like fangs, but humans.
No, they're like humans.
They hate
fangs.
They're like
scavengers.
They hate
scavengers, like scavengers.
Like give me all your money and
like
then they take
raw.
Gangsters.
They're not like gangsters. They're more like they're like thieves and just like homeless and
Actually, they make that like.
They're very crime-like.
Yeah.
Hippies.
Like hippies, yeah. Kind of like hippies, but more like a lot of crime.
Yeah.
A lot of crime. Like they don't shower. They climb around in the trees. They run around the forest, all that. So they run into the stranders, and what happens? The stranders don't want to let them go through.
And then Poto tells a story.
So the leader of the stranders comes up.
Yeah.
And what does he say? He said, we're not going to let you guys through. We're going to actually kill you guys unless you can tell us a good story.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens?
So Poto told a story
when he
where
steals a
phone
from the leader a long time ago when he was younger, in front of the entire crew, and the leader slapped him. And then after he finished telling the story, the strander leader thought that the story was just a good lie.
Okay, so he thought it was a lie.
Yeah.
He's saying there's no way possible that you stole the pawn from the old leader.
Because he was very, very scary.
So, they said, you know what? you're lying. We're gonna kill you guys. So then what happens?
And then Poto shows all the stuff he's stolen from every strander pretty much.
While he was telling the story.
While he was telling the story, he started giving it out, but he never stole the pwn. So
and all the stranders were like, what the heck? How did he do that?
Yeah.
So, who was stealing what? Who was really stealing all the stuff?
Poto.
Poto was stealing it while he was telling the story?
No, Tink.
Tink was stealing everything from their pockets. And so what happened?
He was like sneaking up on people. But
They still didn't believe him.
Yeah. And then they start tying them
They
up.
wanted to kill him more.
Yeah. And then Janner notices Tink's foot go in circles, and when that
he noticed it like a smile.
Yeah, that
he noticed like Tink had like a smile in his face, like
he knows
like,
it's gonna run. He's gonna run. He starts thinking he's gonna run, and then he books it, and then he yells, "You coward!" But then he grabs the pwn.
And also,
which the pwn represents what?
The leadership.
Okay, so the pwn is the one thing that you cannot, like, if somebody steals
They
the
become
pwn, they become the leader.
Yeah.
So in order to be the leader, you have to have the pwn in your possession. If you steal that, if somebody takes that pwn from you, they become the new leader of the stranders. Okay, so Tink steals the pwn.
And dagger.
And the dagger.
And then
So now they're like all in amazement.
And then the butt of the.
And then he takes his dagger back, locks it in his sheath, and takes his phone back. But then Tink pickpockets his dagger again, throws it again for the second time, knocks him out, and steals the phone.
So now who is the new king of the stranders?
Tink.
Tink is. Okay, now, so do they let him through?
Yeah.
Yes.
They let him through, and then what do they run into after that? On their way to the ice prairies. Dugtown. And what happened?
They thought they could trust some people.
They ended up separating. They ended up getting split up, right? And Tink and Janner, they ended up separating, right? Tink and Janner got mad at each other, and they ended up separating. What happened? What did Tink do when they separated? What was the reason for the separation from Tink and Janner?
Because they got mad at each other because Tink didn't want to be king, but Janner was the throne warden.
They've been walking for days. They had been walking for days, thirsty, hungry. They hadn't been sleeping in their beds. They were sleeping on the floor. They were sleeping in the cold. So they were tired. They were frustrated. Janner and Tink end up getting upset with each other, right? So they separate. So their family has already separated up to this point. The family said, we're going to go ahead. Why did they separate? Why did the parents and Lily had to separate from Tink and Janner?
Because the things were after them, and Janner and Tink got stuck, and they ducked and
underground.
hid underground. And
Okay.
the rest of the family and Oscar
Continued.
went
To where their destination. Okay. So then it was Tink and Janner by themselves. Tink is the king. Janner's the throne warden. He's supposed to take care of his brother, right? They get in an argument. Tink says, you know what? I didn't want this. I'm sick of this. I don't want to be the king anymore. I don't want this. I just want to go home. I just want to have a normal life. And then Janner says, fine. He's sick of it. Janner's always gotten irritated with his brother throughout book 1. And he said, you know what? Fine. Then if you don't want it, then don't get it. And they split up. They end up fighting. They get in an argument. They leave each other, right? They split up. Then what happens? As they split up, Tink gets caught up in the crowd of the city where they're at, Dugtown, right? Then Janner starts to think, you know what? He starts to calm down. Like, you know what? I need to take care of my brother, and he starts to think, you know what? Like, maybe I should go look for him. He goes and looks for him, and what happens?
He can't find him.
He can't find him. So where does he end up?
He ends up going the directions on how to get to the place where friendly man told him how to get. And then he went to Tilling Court, not Tilling Street, and there were like homeless people that had lost their kids to the black carriage. So when they find 2 kids, they can trade it in to this dude who'd give them their kid back. And the black carriage takes the kids to the fork factory.
So now we found out where the black carriage takes the kids to. So in book 1, when the black carriage would take a kid, what would they say? They said, you'll never see, whoever the black carriage takes, you will never see them again. They're done. So nobody knew if they would die, nobody knew if they would take them somewhere, nobody knew if they went to prison. They just knew if the black carriage took you somewhere, you will never be seen again. But in book 2, we see where the black carriage has been taking them. Where does it take them?
The pork factory.
The fork factory. And what's going on at the fork factory?
The fork factory, there's like a factory, they're making weapons, a bunch of weapons, fang weapons, and also, in one instance, a real fork.
Okay.
But the thing that actually shocked the janitor when he got there was that there were only kids, and kids were working. There were other.
It was like a slave factory.
Yeah, there were
They were
some
like
older
slaves.
kids, that they were awesome kids, but they were also managing the.
They were the
other
managers.
kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Maintenance managers.
Maintenance managers. So they go to this factory. He ends up getting taken by the black carriage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he ends up getting taken. Then he goes to the factory where the black carriage takes all the kids. It's a slave factory. They're making weapons for the Fangs. So this factory works together with the Fangs, and then the Fangs brings the kids, like the slaves. Slaves make weaponry and all this other stuff. There's also somebody there that he recognizes.
Sarah Cobbler.
It's Sarah Cobbler,
Which
the girl that got taken in book 1. Remember?
In the beginning of the-
She got taken in the beginning. Sarah Cobbler. So that girl, which the cartoon shows that they have like they like each other. Well, Janner likes her, but the book shows more. Sarah Cobbler just took off. The black carriage took her one day, and they didn't know where she went. So he sees somebody he recognizes, and at that slave factory, Janner ends up getting in trouble. So he ends up getting in trouble. Why did he get in trouble?
Because I forgot. He tried to run away.
He's trying to run away.
Mindlessly.
So what happens? He ends up waking up. So he tries to run away. They catch him. They told him, "Don't even try it, boy. Don't even try to run away." They knew that he was going to try, and they said, "Don't even try it." No one that has ever tried to run away has ever gotten away. Don't even try it. It'll be worse. Right? So they end up catching him. He tries to run away. They end up catching him. What happens? They put him where?
They knocked him out.
coffin.
They knock him out. Then he wakes up where?
In a dark, tight, confined
In a
space.
dark, tight, confined, which we described as a coffin. He was in a coffin, in a box. The book described it as a box. So he's in the coffin. Then he wakes up then he finally, the coffin opens up after how many days?
2.
2 days. Opens up, and what does he see? Maverick. What's
And
Maverick?
A ridge runner.
A ridge runner.
Red
Okay.
Runner is like this tiny little animal
So
that
Maverick-
likes fruit.
Yes.
It's a
Maverick
mini person.
opens up. Maverick is a ridge runner, right? But he's like the leader. He's kind of like the manager
Below the manager.
under the main guy.
Yeah.
So like
maintenance.
the assistant.
Manager.
the top hat guy. Let's call him the top hat guy.
Yeah, well, he's a top hat, right?
He's over the maintenance.
Yeah, he's like
managers,
over everything. He's over the entire factory.
Except for the dude that bossed
The
him.
top hat guy. So this is a ridge runner. For those of you that want to know what a ridge runner is, this is a ridge runner. This is actually Creaturepedia, Pembroke's Creaturepedia. This is a ridge runner.
Does it say?
They're tiny.
That's how.
They're like little elves. Okay, let me ask you this. What's the ridge runner's weakness?
Weakness.
Fruit.
Fruit. Okay, so the ridge runner's weakness is fruit. Okay, so he opens up the box, brings Janner out, and he says, "Okay, Janner, you ready to behave? Like you ready to get back to work?" So he ends up making it worse. He ends up making him work harder. He ends up making him sleep in a messed up bed, right?
Yeah.
He
Then-
wakes him up way too early.
Then Janner decides he's gonna try and escape again. This is where he sees Sarah Cobbler. And what happens? He gets with Sarah Cobbler and he tries to do something to plan to escape with her. But what does she tell him?
No.
She said, "No, don't try it." She didn't want to talk to him, right? So, but Janner, being stubborn as he is, he says, "No, I'm gonna still do it. Let's do it." So she ends up agreeing. Okay, let's do it. So what happens?
And then he goes to Maverick because when they had taken him out of the box, he stole some fruit. 4 apples.
From where?
From
Bless you.
The basket of fruits. From which office? What room?
You guys here.
So it was in the overseer's office.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And in the overseer's office was a basket of fruit. So the basket of fruit, so Janner ends up stealing
4 apples.
4 apples. Why?
Because he can bribe Maverick.
So was he planning on going into the box again?
Yeah.
Okay, so he knew he was gonna go into the box again. The overseer has a whip
Yeah.
that everybody who tries to escape, he whips them. So they whip Tink. They whip Janner. They beat him. They beat him bad. Then they put him back in the box again. He goes back in the box again.
For 3 days this time.
For 3 days. But he has a plan. It's all a part of Janner's plan, right? So what is Janner's plan?
And
Choose.
so then he has 1 apple left. He eats it in the box. And then...
Because he had 4. He hit 2. He used 1 to bribe Maverick.
Okay,
No, 3 technically.
okay. So then what happens?
He eats 1 in a coffin.
Well, he's in the coffin because he's in there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Then he finally gets out of the coffin for 3 days, and then what happens?
He bribes Maverick again, but this
No.
time he has to do it, and then
He
No,
does.
they go into the overseer's office.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
For
then
the
he
second
dropped
time.
the watermelon.
Drop the watermelon.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how he stole the 4 apples.
So they're in the overseer's office,
Yeah.
and what happens? The second time. This is the second time he already got out of the coffin. Janner already wants his plan. He already has a plan of how he's gonna escape.
The overseer, he's found out about the apples now, and he's like, "You're resourceful. If you do good, right? We'll by tomorrow. I'll have you a maintenance manager. So
You'll get a better bed, better food,
bread.
more rest, right?
You have bread with your food.
Okay. So now Janner has to decide whether he's gonna go through with this plan or if he's just gonna become one of the managers there.
And
And
he decides
So
to
they
a
walk
barrel.
out. They walk out. Who walks out?
Jan-
Maverick
and Jan.
and Janner. Where does the overseer go?
He goes to a carriage.
He goes to a carriage. And he waits for who?
Maverick.
Maverick. Okay. So they walk out, and what happens? What does Janner do to Maverick?
He grabs him by the throat.
He
and
grabs him by the throat,
He goes and then shoves him to the wall.
shoves him up the wall, and what does he tell him?
He tells them.
He covers his mouth. Yeah, he's holding him up against the wall, covering his mouth. And what does he tell him?
I am Janner Wingfeather.
Yeah, Janner Wingfeather.
What's his name?
And he goes, "You're one of the jewels of Venera."
You wanted to show some here.
And he goes, "Yes."
Yes.
And then what does he tell him? He tells him, "You're gonna pretend like I beat you,
You're gonna.
and you're gonna let me run.
Make up a story.
You're gonna make up a story."
Like 10
And he goes, "If I let you go,
Give me 10 minutes to escape.
give me 10 minutes to escape."
Yeah.
So what happens?
He lets him go.
He agrees. Maverick agrees
By the
And then he lets him go?
Something in the hollows. The holes in the hollows.
because of his people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he lets him go, and what happens?
He starts screaming.
Maverick runs straight to the overseer.
Yeah.
The overseer's in the carriage.
Yeah.
So now what does Janner do?
He's chasing.
He's chasing Maverick.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens?
He tries to.
How does Janner end up in the carriage?
So then
So
he punches. He knocks out Maverick. He punches in the Maverick, right? And then
Yeah.
he goes. The overseer's like, oh.
Maverick, where are you? He's looking for Maverick. He's
Yeah.
calling for him.
And then he.
Maverick's knocked out.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then he has the door. He's waiting for the door.
Closer.
He's waiting for the door. He's waiting till the overseer gets near the door so he can just push them as hard as he can and
And
just
then
look
the
through and
overseer-
hit him,
The
like
overseer
tackle
fell
him.
back.
And
The
he
overseer-
tackled
But he
him.
took his
and,
hat.
and his whip and hat laid around. And
No, he didn't take his whip.
His
Just the hat.
what laid around.
Yeah.
And then instead of taking the whip, he grabbed his hat.
Okay.
He grabs the
So
hat.
he ends up in the carriage.
Yeah.
He ends up in the carriage and he ends up escaping,
Yeah.
right? So where does he go?
He goes
To the gates.
He goes.
To the gates.
He goes to the roundest widow.
Okay. And then what happens?
And then from there, he hears the
the thing.
Fangs marching to go get him. And then so he goes back to the underground tunnel.
And he finds who?
Potos.
No, Claxton's mom.
Yeah.
Why? What did Claxton do?
He got
Claxton stabbed her.
Yeah.
Why?
because she tried to protect.
She tried to defend and protect Polo and the family, Tink. The Wingfeather family, right? She tells him, you need to go look for your brothers.
She sends him on the journey. He goes to the
Doesn't he
East
give
Bend.
him 2 packs?
He goes to the East Bend with his equipment, right? And he finds Marley. He releases her, and they go on this epic journey, right? They're going through the wilderness, through the mountains, and then they're almost like they're having it. Like it's really bad for them. Everything's going bad, and then Gammon, the leader of the rebellion, he finds him and he takes him to his little town, and that's where Jenna and Marley get to
Meet the rest of the family.
Okay, so Marilee is Claxton's daughter.
Yeah.
So Janner ends up finding out about a new type of fang.
Yeah.
What kind of fang?
Gray
They're
fangs.
called the gray fangs.
They're wolves.
They're wolves. And what is the difference between these ones and the other fangs?
They
They can
thrive
stand-
in the cold.
They thrive in the cold. So the whole family's going to the ice prairies thinking that they're gonna escape the fangs, when actually they have other fangs that are actually thriving in the snow, thriving in the cold, and have no problem with the snow. So now Janner knows, like, okay, now we're in worse danger. We're going right into fang territory, right? So they end up finding, he ends up going and looking for Tink.
Yeah.
And where does he find out that Tink is? Artham. Artham gets caught too. Remember Artham? Pete the Sockman out of nowhere just appears in one of the chapters.
Yeah.
And where is he?
He's in a boat.
He's in a boat, chained down
He's like chained down. He can't
from head to toe.
Yeah. He can't move.
He can't move, right? So where are they taking him?
To the Foob Island.
Okay, they're taking him to the Foo Islands, and
He's
then
other children chained.
there's other children that are there, right? So after getting off the ship, going onto the islands, what's happening?
There's some weird
great
wolf
fangs.
things.
He sees the gray fangs.
He sees a wolf come in the ship, and then the wolf gets up on its hind legs and starts speaking.
Okay, and so what do they tell Pete the Sockman?
To give up.
They tell him, hey, your family's going over here, aren't they? Your family's going to the ice prairies. Aren't they going to the ice prairies? And he says, yeah, and he goes, and then that's when he tells him, like, what you don't know is that we thrive in the snow. Like, your family's going right into a trap. Like, your family's going down. Because they're going to go and end up running into a bunch of the fangs. The gray fangs, right? So Pete the Sockman, which is Artham, is all worried. Right? He's all worried. They put him in a cage.
Above everybody.
Above everybody else. And he gets to see what?
The transformations.
Okay, the transformation. Tell me a little bit more about the
So-
transformation.
Alright. So there's this like stone.
Faith, do it. She
Go ahead, Faith.
The transformation is like a box, and the stonekeeper sings the song. Where she turns.
So look, they get off the ship, and then the stonekeeper, or who is it that meets them?
Stonekeeper.
Stonekeeper meets them. They're kids. They get off the ship. They go straight to this, and she asks, "What's your name?"
And then it'll be like, I'm blah blah
And she gives them a name.
blah. After the transformation is complete.
Then they transform into what? The kids transform
They
into
go
what?
inside a
The
box.
gray fangs.
They
Gray fangs.
turn like into little
How about
wolves.
how in order to turn them into the gray fangs, they go inside. The stonekeeper tells them what to say or sing, him a tune, and then they bring a wolf in, and then they become the gray fangs.
Okay,
And then
so
they-
they're transforming children into gray fangs.
Which are
And then
like
these
miniature
children are
wolves.
growing up into
Wolves.
huge fangs. Yeah. Now,
So they're like
up to
little
this
wolves.
point, we don't know where the heck Tink is. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he's dead. We don't know if he's lost. And what happens?
Tink.
One of the kids that comes off the ship is who?
Tink.
Tink. And who sees him?
Arthur.
Arthur sees them. And what happens?
He goes crazy.
He goes crazy. He's in a cage.
Like,
He
he's
goes
like,
crazy. And then the stonekeeper called Tink to go get transformed, and the bars were thick, huge thick bars, and Artham got like so worried because he was originally the throne warden, and he went and shattered it.
He broke it.
He broke the
He broke
cage,
this
and then he
thing.
went, and all the fangs were like, "What the heck?"
They
All
covered
right.
his view.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
then so he ran into the transforming process
Okay.
and pulled Tink out, which
He turned into a wolf.
He had turned
Halfway.
Halfway.
So he was in the process of turning into
Just
a Great
like-
Fang,
Just
just like the rest of the kids, right?
Yeah.
And then
he pulled him out.
he pulled him out halfway through the
Yeah.
transformation.
Just like what happened to him. He didn't finish
That's
the
why
He
he
song.
has
pulled him out,
talents.
and where does he go?
He
Goes to
he
the
starts
iceberg.
flying.
He starts flying. He
because
takes off
he had wings.
with Tink.
Holding
He grew
Tink
wings.
with wings, and then he flies all the way to the ice prairies.
He flies.
Now,
Just grew wings.
Janner meets up with who?
Merrily? No.
Merrily and somebody else.
See,
The floored sword. Gammon.
Gammon. Okay. Gammon says, but Gammon had made a deal with somebody.
The crack. No. Yeah,
Gammon
crack.
had made a deal with the leader of the Fangs
Crack, yeah.
and said, I want Fangs out of Screet. Is that right?
Yeah.
as long as we
He
give you
said,
the jewels
now look,
of
I
Veneria.
know where the jewels of Veneria are. I will give them to you if you,
In
as
3
soon
days.
as I give them to you, you get your Fangs out of my territory. And he says, of course, all right, they agreed to it.
And
He
of
says,
course.
okay, bring me the jewels of Venera, and then our fangs will be gone in your you won't have no fangs in your territory anymore.
And once he leaves, he starts laughing.
So what happens? Gammon goes and he finds who?
Tink and
No.
Merrily.
He
No,
finds
Janner.
Janner and Marilyn,
Yeah,
right?
in the middle of nowhere.
And what does he
in
tell
the
Janner?
He can take
He
them.
knows where his family
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
he says, we're going to take you to your family. I'm going to take you to where your family is. They're safe, don't worry.
And
You're
they
going
passed him
to meet up with your
around.
family. So he takes them, right? Merrily doesn't trust this guy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Janner trusts him because he seems like a cool guy, right? So what happens? He takes them
He takes them all the way to the city.
and he
but
sees them,
he-
and then he finally sees his family.
yeah,
And how do they look?
beautiful.
Beautiful.
Especially the mom.
All dressed,
The mom was
How?
dressed-
all dressed neatly like a queen.
Like a queen. Yes, she came out from underground, looking like, or was it the house or underground? It was underground, the snow. It was
Yeah.
under the snow.
Yeah.
She comes out looking
Well,
like a
queen.
queen, like beautiful.
It
Her hair's all nice.
wasn't completely underground. They said that when winter comes, the snow is so
It's-
high.
Yeah, it's like
It
halfway.
comes into the city.
Okay, so then Lily walks out. How does she look?
She looks-
beautiful too.
So Janner runs over there to his mom, gives her a hug, so excited to see his family. He's united with his family. And what do they ask him?
Where's
Yeah,
Tink?
Where's Tink? And what does Janner say?
I don't know. I tried to
I
save
lost him.
Was he crying? Was he happy? Was he mad?
sad.
He was sad because he knew they were gonna ask.
He was upset.
He was upset because he knew they were gonna ask him where's Tink, and it was his responsibility to take care of Tink.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he reunites with his family, and what happens?
They asked him where's team.
What happens with Gammon?
He like
says-
betrays them.
Well, he
sorta.
tells them I'm gonna take you to the ice prairies,
Yeah,
right?
and then they meet up. He finds his family.
Okay, but after that, he ends up taking the whole entire family where? Oh no!
They
Janner wakes up
to being tied.
and the whole family's tied up.
yeah, and they were
By who?
told, Gammon.
Gammon and who?
Marians. Camarians.
What are Camerans?
Camarians.
And it said that as they were tying up Poto, what happened?
He wounded 3.
He wounded
he
3,
severely killed.
and he
wounded-
almost killed 1.
Almost killed 1.
So it took 4 of them. Took 4 of them. He severely hurt 3 and almost killed 1, just for Poto.
And he's old.
And he's the oldest.
Imagine if when he was in his prime.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Scary.
So they end up tying them all up. They end up. What's gonna happen now?
The trade.
They're gonna turn them over to the Fangs.
And then the fangs go. But
So
then-
they end up meeting.
Yes.
Now they tied up the family. They said, "I'm sorry, but I have to turn you guys in."
Gammon gives Jenner a wink
Oh,
and a wink, and then
but Jana died was a twitch.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jenner
he
thought
winks
what
at
the
him.
heck?
Janner's like, "What the heck? This guy's twitching."
Yeah.
So they end up meeting up with the Fangs, and what happens?
And then the Camarians out of nowhere fire these like ice boulders, breaking the river that was frozen over. And so now all the gray fangs are like, what the heck? And
Florida-
Timber, the leader, was wondering, should I tell my fangs to get reorganized, tell them to attack, or get the kids? Like, what do I do?
And the forest lord jumped.
Jumped out of nowhere.
which is really Gammon.
Yeah, man. And he starts just fighting fangs.
Like
as if he's
nothing
reading a book.
He starts spinning around with his sword like Zorro.
Yeah.
He starts killing all kinds of people, killing all kinds of fangs, right? Then
Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots. Then they're like, what the heck? I thought you were betraying us.
Yeah.
And what did he say? Like Oscar. And what did he say? They said, I thought, like, you betrayed us. What happened? And he said, I'm sorry, Your Highness. He tells Nia.
Yeah.
But I needed them to think, I needed you to think that I was actually going to betray you.
Because they're like, where's the third one? This is the third one. No, it's not, because he thought, he couldn't trust anyone because some of his men were spies working with the Fangs. And so 2 of them were working and they only have 2 children. And then he's like, but he fakes Merrily to be Tink. And they're like, no. And then Timber's like, why? These guys told me.
So now there's a war. What war?
A battle.
A battle of what?
Fangs. Great Fangs.
What's it called? The battle of
The battle of Scream,
the battle of Chimera.
Yeah.
So there's a battle of Chimera now between the Fangs and who?
The
The Chimerans, right? Who wins? The Chimerans win. But the Chimerans are fighting to defend the Wingfeathers, right? Okay. So after they win the battle, what happens? All of a sudden you see somebody flying in.
That's Arthur with Tink.
Arthur with Tink, and Tink's a wolf by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks.
And
when Jenner
they take
sees
the family.
that it was a team, it
They
was a
take a
wolf,
family to this
he got
weird thing,
disappointed.
to this weird like tunnel secret, and they start going.
And then
Photo's
like,
tells him to
why
stop.
do you take us
Like,
to
where are you
cheat?
taking us? And then he's like, to the ocean. And then Photo's like, oh no.
We can't go to the
We
ocean.
can't.
No, we're not going to the ocean.
And so
We can't go to the sea,
Yeah.
the dark sea. We can't go.
we can't.
And they're like, why? We have to go through there. That's the only way we can get there.
Yeah.
And then Poto's like, I said no.
And so they're like, can't you go back? And he's like, you guys.
They're like
can't."
wondering what the heck's wrong with Poto.
Yeah, and the air.
So then they find out. Poto said, this is why we can't go.
No, he never told them.
He admits to them. Remember, Nia got mad at him.
After
Nia
the
said-
dragons already came out.
No, that was before. Yes. Before he tells them what happened. This is what I did. And then she goes, Nia was mad. And she goes, not even my mother would have accepted that. And he goes, your mother knew. And then that's when the dragons come out.
Oh.
The dragons come out, right?
Right after they landed on the ship, though.
And they're about to
Set sail.
attack Poto.
Yeah. And then Lily steps in front.
So
She just
Poto
jumped between Poto and
was not allowed back on the sea.
Yeah, or
There
else
was
he
a
would
treaty.
die.
There was a treaty between the dragons and the pirates
somewhere like he was prison.
that if Poto ever got back on the sea,
Any of them got
any of them ever went back on sea,
destruction, death.
the dragons were gonna kill him.
Even the ones that were with Poto.
So, and anybody with Poto. So the dragons come out of the sea because they smell Poto. So the dragons come, and the dragons are about to kill Poto, right? And what happens?
No, Lily steps in front.
Lily steps in front, not afraid of nothing, looking like this.
Fight me.
She steps in front of the dragon, right? She looked like this, like,
If you dare.
you ain't gonna do nothing to my grandma.
Yeah.
So what happens? Tell me more about that. Tell me more. Start to take me through what happened right there with the dragon and Poto and the family.
So they started talking. The only throne wardens could hear the dragons, and dragons could, try to talk to the let the throne wardens hear or not let them hear, and they were letting them hear. And but we could talk to the dragons and they'd hear us, but we couldn't hear them. And so there's an argument, and then they're like, fine, one final voyage.
But what happens? The dragon brings up his daughter.
His daughter who had.
Poto's fearful. Poto's on his knees
Yeah.
by now. He's like petrified, begging the dragons to please not kill his family. Just kill him.
Yeah.
Just me.
And then he brings up his daughter, and he's like.
The daughter dragon.
His daughter, yeah. Like, she was once as beautiful as the sun itself.
The rising sun.
The sun itself.
Yes.
And now look at her. And so.
So
she's
she was
all
sliced
scarred.
from one side of the face all the way to her lip. She was cut all the way, right? From who?
From
Poto.
Poto.
Poto. Okay.
His nickname was Scale Raker.
So then the family sees like, man, this guy was really wicked. Poto was like a bad guy.
Yeah.
So they say this is the reason why. This is what happened. My daughter, she was so beautiful, and Poto destroyed her face.
And then.
So what happens?
And then
and then.
Lily
Poto-
starts to sing
The
the whistle
Jurgen's
harp.
tune.
Jurgen's tune, and then what happens? The dragons start to remember. the things that they did to people.
He remembered when he was young, when he
The
just
dragon.
used to climb up, wiggle onto the land and smash villages.
Kill people, how evil they were.
How they would, and there were just terror in the people's eyes.
Basically, how
nothing.
they both had evil in them when they were at war, the dragons and the pirates. So basically, he started to feel bad, right? So the daughter comes up and the daughter tells her dad what?
To let them go.
Let
He
him go.
has scars deeper than mine.
He said that man has scars deeper than mine, which are the scars on her face. So then the father dragon tells the daughter to go and get something.
And
when she
she
came up,
comes up, spits it.
she spits on Poto's leg.
She spits out a bone.
His bone.
And what is it? What happened? What does Poto say? Faith? My leg! Anyways, so it's Poto's leg.
It's a bone.
His bone.
His bone, which is his leg, because we know that Poto has just a piece of wood. So, the dragon ends up saying what? You guys, I'm going to allow you one more time.
One more final voyage.
But if you ever,
like, there's no way, there's not another time.
it doesn't matter.
No deal. You're dead.
If you ever come back on this sea, you're dead. So as they're taking off, they're going, and Tink ends up landing in the boat by now. Right?
Yeah.
And what's happening with Tink?
He just wakes
He's
up
like,
and he's like,
what the heck?
Where am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
He doesn't know who he is. He's just a wolf.
And Nia hugs him.
So Nia
but-
goes over to him to comfort him, and what does he do?
Sing.
He claws her and bites he starts to claw her, starts to slice her because he's a wolf now, right? A
And he's
fang.
all biting.
And he bites them. And what happens with Tink? What does
Tink-
Janner do?
So Tink eventually looks for a way out and he jumps overboard.
Jumps overboard.
And then
Janner
Janner just
just
felt the Throne Warden kicking it. He took off his coat
For
and,
coat.
and
He
just
jumped
jumped out
For his brother.
for
Into
his
the
brother,
icy
and
water.
He felt
The
like
water
nothing. He
was
felt
icy.
like this,
was
and then he
frozen.
just reached out and grabbed the
Grabs
fur,
some fur.
and then he
Tink
just
was
held
like-
on. He just was holding on.
And then somebody came in and got them out of the water.
Yeah.
Now he's not Pete the Sockman, now he's Pete the Birdman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes in and he grabs him out, puts him on the boat, and what happens?
He
Janner
pulls him out.
has severe wounds
He's
everywhere.
bleeding.
They're
His
bleeding
thighs.
everywhere.
Well, Janner is.
Janner, Nia's bleeding. So then, this is the very last chapter. Tink is tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while Tink is tied up, he's tied down because he's attacking everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know who he is, he doesn't know where he is. They're always asking him like, "What's your name?" or "Who are you?" And he's like,
Put bed next to
"I don't know."
Janner.
So they say, "You're Tink. You're
Kalmar.
You're Kalmar, Wingfeather."
Sometimes
goes like
Arthur he just came in and he said, "You're."
I feel like this is the first chapter of that book.
Yeah.
So what does he eat?
He is raw meat.
no
He eats raw
soup,
meat.
No. soup.
No.
No, they tried.
It's not the
feeding
first
him
chapter
food.
because the first chapter of the book he already knows who he is.
Oh yeah.
The end of the book is Tink.
I remember.
Yeah, he goes, "I remember." Look at my name. The creator said, with his eyes still shut, is Kalmar. My father was Ebsen Wingfeather. So this is the end of the book.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does he eat
He is
while he's tied up?
Raw meat.
Fresh raw meat.
He will only eat fresh raw meat.
No soup.
Robbie.
No soup,
No bread.
no top ramen,
Yeah.
no hot pockets, no chicken
No
nuggets.
pizza.
He will only eat what?
Raw meat.
Raw meat.
Raw steak.
Why? Because he's a fang.
Yeah.
So they're constantly trying to tell him who he is, and he's like, "No."
But
So-
at midnight, Janner would tell him stories of who he used to be.
And he
Childhood stories.
And
Growing
When he put a thwop
dog
in
in
his
his
thwop.
door.
thwop in Poto. No.
Find a thwop.
Poto's
Drawer.
underwear
A garden
drawer.
thwop.
When he opened
And
it,
underdrawer,
he
it
jumped.
jumped and he put a hole in the ceiling with his head.
Poto jumped so high,
Hole in the ceiling.
so then did Tink start laughing when he heard that story?
He started
He
laughing.
started laughing, Janner started laughing. So they started connecting.
Yeah, at the middle of the night though.
Janner was all full of bandages,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tink was still tied up because he was attacking everybody,
And,
right? And then Pete the Birdman would come and check on him.
he did it like 4 times, but then he stopped.
Then eventually he just stopped. Why? Because he's a fang.
Yeah.
And they hate fangs. Okay, so finally he's telling them these stories. He's saying you were the fastest one, like You beat all of us.
You could outrun me.
You could outrun me.
Backwards.
He's telling him childhood stories, trying to help him to remember who he was. So he tells him a story about a time where he put Tink and Janner and Lily put a thwop in. This is a thwop. It's a little garden thwop. He put a thwop inside of Poto's drawer. So he tells him the time about when he put a thwop inside of the drawer of Poto. Poto got so scared he jumped up, hit the roof, did a hole because of his head. He made a hole in the ceiling, right? So Tink starts laughing, but Tink's tied up because he's trying to kill everybody. So he's trying to tell him childhood stories so that way he can remember who he is, right?
And then one day.
And then all of a sudden, at the end of this book,
I remember.
Who says I remember?
Tink.
Out of nowhere, he says,
I remember.
I remember! But he's still tied up.
I remember.
And then what happens?
His eyes.
His eyes turn blue.
From
Yellow.
yellow, what color are the fangs' eyes?
Yellow.
So his eyes were yellow.
And then
From yellow, they turned
blue.
which is normal. His normal eye color. And then what happened?
And then
He turned into regular Tink. And the book closed.
But what does he say?
Like, I am Kalmar Wingfeather. My father was Esben Wingfeather. I am the High King of an area.
They were like gasping.
And Janner was yeah.
And then somebody yelled.
Tink.
Okay. Janner leaped out of his bed and ran to his brother's side in spite of the pain that shot through his body. Tink, he said. Kalmar opened his eyes and they were clear and blue. That's the end of the book. So what a powerful book. I mean, just every single chapter was just intense, suspenseful. Like, we just couldn't get enough of this book. So, highly recommended book. Very, very highly recommended. We're already reading book 3. And book 3 is just as good, right? Anticipation. We're really excited to see what we get out of book 3. Unfortunately, the school year is already going to be up in a few days. So hopefully we'll be able to read as much of book 3 as possible. So would you guys recommend this book for people to read?
Yes.
Even though we already told them the whole story.
Yeah.
They would still need to read it for themselves.
Yeah.
This book is well worth it.
We left out a lot of details.
We left out a lot of details. We gave you guys like the basic summary. There's still a lot. Nugget dies.
Yeah.
Nugget dies.
He died.
Actually dies. The dragons take him. The dragons do a little ceremony. They take him underground.
Special.
There's a lot of things that we left out. So look, if you're watching this video, leave a like, subscribe to Mr. Padilla's Dojo, and look forward to more book reviews. All right? Anybody have anything they want to say to the people that are watching?
I have a channel, the Whale channel. Please like and subscribe. I only have 3 videos, but if you get notifications on, I'll get it and I'll release more videos. Goodbye.
All right.
Cool.
Ready? Everybody come up here and say.
Cool.
Everybody come up here. We're all. And remember, defeat does not exist in this dojo.
Cool exit scene.
Well, in the immortal last words of General Schnimp, toodles!